try to think about it in a different way. Like 55% of investments on venture capitalists happen between Stanford and Berkeley in the US, huh? So it's not New York, it's not Chicago. 55% of venture capital money happens in the Silicon Valley. Is there here a way we can change the paradigm? And we thought about it as, let's build bridges between innovation ecosystems. How about we create a VC bootcamp where we introduce these venture capitalists to different innovation ecosystems? Because before that, they were just waiting in Silicon Valley and say, whether you're African, European, Latin American, you're gonna come, you're gonna ask for money and talent, and we're gonna pay. But this way here, and honestly, the venture capital world has been very, very receptive to that. Let's discover what's happening in South Africa. Last year, it was about Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia. Well, a lot of people discovered that Saudi Arabia, there's a massive revolution happening right now. Social, economic revolution that is insane. So this is why this VC bootcamp became something that we wanted to, like an add-on to the Me2We movement. This year, it's about a region that is very dear to my heart. It's about Africa. Africa being the youngest population in the world right now, has the youngest population in the world. 41% of African population is under the age of 15 years old. 41%. And the population will double by 2050, reaching 2.4 billion people by 2050. What does it mean? It means that by 2050, 1 out of 4 humans on the planet is African. And that African is definitely the youngest one out of all. Aging population in Europe, aging population in North America, some Asian countries as well. So who is gonna fuel this economy? Who will be building the iPhones? Who will be creating these apps? My bet, that is gonna happen in Africa. So this is why we're here today. And without any further ado, I will introduce our very, very amazing moderator, Sally Namani.
Cue up the video first.
I think we're a little late, so we probably should wrap it up.
We got it. Good morning, good morning. It is a pleasure and honor to be here with you all today. Welcome to the VC Bootcamp, Silicon Valley focused on Africa. We have an amazing lineup of panelists. I am a social entrepreneur working at the intersection of sport, social entrepreneurship, and peace building. So I am just as excited to learn from this group that we have here today with us. Just as Huss shared, Africa and the world is undergoing a rapid era of transformation, from political systems to norms to what work looks like or will look like in the future. There's so much going on, and Africa is at the forefront, or can be at the forefront of this. When I was talking with Huss yesterday, he talked about, imagine having a conversation in 1982 or maybe 1979, and you're telling a group of investors, you need to invest in China because China is the future. They would probably look at you like, excuse me, haven't you seen what's going on over there? It's a communist country. They just came out of a long civil war. They're 20 years post-war. I don't know if that's the future. But if you look at China today and the footprint that it has, not just in Asia, but in Africa and globally, it is immense. And we believe that Africa has that potential. And this panel today brings a very diverse expertise. And I am looking forward to introducing our group. All right, I will start with Huss because he's right here in front of me. He is our convener today, and he is the founder of the VC Bootcamp and also the founder of Me2We. Woo!
I wish I could take the credit for Me2We, but I had amazing ladies who helped me in February 2016, where I was crying alone in the washroom saying, this is not gonna work.
Well, I would love to introduce Laurent Kaczmarek. Perfect. Not only has Laurent completed all levels of Candy Crush, he has over 20 years of experience in IT, focusing on business development and marketing for major accounts, primarily in France and The last 8 years internationally in French-speaking Africa. Today, he is a Director of Innovation and Strategy at JFN High Tech University Institute, an ultra-modern campus in Douala, Cameroon. He has established a coding school in partnership with Quasi Silicon Valley and certification programs with Google Cloud and Amazon Web Services. His programs are already in 4 countries: Cameroon, Gabon, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. Please join me in welcoming John. Next up is my new friend. Hi, Christelle. Christelle Mumbo Butet.
That's my maiden name. You can go with the second one.
The second one is Bombaziga. Christelle was born and raised in France to Congolese parents. She is the regional customer success lead at Cisco and a published author of children's books. Wow, what a dynamic, interesting. All right, next we have Okaga. Okaga is a product operations manager in Google's YouTube division. He works on the TV and partner engineering team, overseeing international vendor operations for scaled live monitoring across YouTube TV, YouTube's primetime channels, and NFL Sunday Ticket. Fun fact about he loves producing music. I've got to hear your tune at some point. And creating new recipes and trying new fashion trends. Can you tell? So this is our group. Super excited. Those of you who are joining us, again, I am Sally Ndamani. I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm a nonprofit executive working at the intersection of sport and peace building, both here in the US and globally. So just like you all in the room today, I am super excited. I wish I could take notes to learn from this group. I think we have a lot of knowledge in the house. My hope is that they will demystify your assumptions, curiosities, or just questions around Africa and what it means to invest in Africa today and going forward. So let's kick it off. Us shared with us at the start the incredible population growth that will be taking place, but it's already taking place in Africa. And Africa in the last 2 decades has made significant strides with bustling entrepreneurship and innovation ecosystems. Countries such as Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, South Africa, they are all emergent as tech hubs and innovation hubs on the continent. So we have executives, we have leaders in the room today. So I'm gonna open this up to the panel. Why invest in Africa? Why now? Why today? To you first.
Ladies down.
Absolutely. So I'm going to share my experience about Africa from a corporate angle. So as you said, I work for Cisco Systems, and Cisco last year announced that we overexceeded our goal to positively impact 1 billion people around the world. That's a goal that we set 9 years ago. We are doing it through our mission to connect everywhere and everything in the world, but also to power an inclusive future for all. So Africa is definitely, personally, from my cultural background and ethnical background, but also from a strategic standpoint, a very critical area of the business for Cisco. We signed a few months ago, actually, in October, a specific memorandum of understanding, MOU, with the South African government. It was an agreement, more specifically with the Department of Communications and Digital Transformation. And what we plan to do is to capitalize on the economic growth, the social, and the youth population, the booming youth that is available across the continent, and more specifically, where we are investing in South Africa. So we are doing it through 3 different main angles. And the first one is very traditional, very historical. It is not my favorite. It's around aid. How can we aid the African continent? I believe that Africa doesn't necessarily need any additional aid. I think Africa has been paying the aid and the debts for many times. But we do have a Cisco crisis response program, where we are partnering with nonprofit organizations And this is pretty much the way we are regulating and monitoring how we are participating in the economic growth of Africa. So we are working with nonprofits in the continent, and we are providing Cisco economic response. We are also doing it, obviously, through learning and development, teaching digital skills. We do have a program at Cisco which is free, accessible to all, which it is called NETACAD, N-E-T-A-C-A-D, NETACAD, and we provide the skills of today and tomorrow. So all skills around AI, I'm very passionate about AI and responsible AI, all skills around cybersecurity, all skills around all digital transformation. And the last one is really also around economic empowerment. So through our technology partners, we are making sure that the African population has access to financial aids and different ways to contribute formally, not informally, not through any black market systems, to the economic empowerment. So those are some of the way and the reasons why we are invested as Cisco Systems in the African continent.
Brilliant.
I think in the more broader way, if you can jump on that, think about it this way. When I was young, growing up in France, and I think you grew up in France, and you too, right? Okay, you didn't grow up in France, you grew up here. In France, I remember specifically, so we were in a specific neighborhood where we were a lot of Africans. As a matter of fact, we had only one white French family in that neighborhood. And that was very interesting because all my teachers used to tell us that Africans, it was the 1980s, so brace yourself. Africans make too many babies. They used to tell us that. And the way they were thinking about it as they see an African baby as a mouth to feed. All right? And to me, it's all about demographic growth. Think about it this way. What if we start thinking about Africa or African babies not as a mouth to feed, but as possibly the same way we see a European baby being born, maybe a future engineer, maybe a future architect, maybe a future doctor. As soon as we shift that paradigm, think about demographically, there will be a lot of innovation happening from Africa. There is still already a lot of things happening. But the only issue is that the way we perceive Africa and these tsunami of youth, we see that as, ooh, how are we gonna feed them all? This family has 14 kids. How are they gonna feed them all? Where in fact, if we think about it the right way, it would be, well, 2 of them would be engineers. 1 of them will be a CEO, the other one will be a doctor. And if you think about it that way, 2.4 billion people by 2050, especially in an ecosystem that has completely leapfrogged traditional industries. Example, fintech. We don't really want to have banks everywhere. We just went straight online. Now the biggest fintech companies in the world, like M-Pesa, they come from Africa. Why? Because it was so easy for Africa to set up this system. They were not a banking dinosaur that was holding everything. No, we don't want to change. Education. We don't necessarily have the resources to build a school every 4 kilometers like in here. So we're going to go online and you will see huge improvement and innovation on EdTech. The same thing on MedTech. So this is the way I think about it. I think about it in terms of demographic growth and also a shift of paradigm. And the same way that we see, European kids being born and potentially contributing to society, we need to start seeing African kids being born and contributing to innovation and to contribute to the world.
Would you like to add to that, Laurent?
So I'm very happy to be here. I'm the only one living in Africa, actually. So if you want to really know how to live in Africa, in Cameroon, precisely, we can talk after the whatever. It's a challenge every day. I say that to start. But there are a mountain of opportunities. So why invest? I'm happy to say that we have Cisco NETACAD in our university. So we use your investment to help young people, students or unemployed to be able, after a boot camp on Cisco, on Google Cloud, AWS, the coding school with Quasar Silicon Valley, to be certified internationally with the Silicon Valley standard. So this is the same skills, hard skills and soft skills that you can find here in Africa. But we need, it's more and more customers, investors to come in these countries. I'm based in Cameroon, Douala, but my zone and all this speech during this hour, I will just talk about French-speaking area. This is my zone, okay? This is 20 countries. This is for 40 million people. That's more than the US. And that's my zone. In this zone, we have a gap, just crazy. In this zone, there are around 20,000 developers.
440 million people and 20,000 developers only.
But we have talents. We have young talents, a lot. I see all the talents. They just need to be able to be connected with you. You have companies, tech companies. I will talk about tech. You have tech companies. You are struggling to find developers all day long. Come. Come. No.
Yeah, without repeating too much of what everyone has said, I think the broader point from my perspective, and I come from like a TV and media perspective with, YouTube and Google, is that we're really looking at being able to, the reason why you want to invest in Africa is to know that the accessibility of tools helps expedite innovation. And what I mean by that is, personally for me, so, I'm definitely on Instagram and Reels and looking at different videos, and I'll always come across, oh, there's this random boy or girl in Africa who was using various recycling materials to build a drone. There's an individual who taught themselves how to code because they found a tutor who was a mathematician who decided to take them from their area and their village, help them join a math club, and now they are a genius or a whiz. And these are all hidden opportunities that are available on the continent that without the accessibility of productivity tools, ensuring that as opposed to, hey, let's develop AI, create governance, and do it outside of Africa, as opposed to involving the individuals who actually live in these communities to help tell you how they should build their policies. You're essentially overlooking and creating solutions without truly understanding the problem that may be at hand, or exactly understanding how to bolster that community. So I think kind of the main point that I'm getting at, and a lot of us are saying, is that with the tools that are available here, in the United States or in other areas, being able to invest in Africa allows other individuals who don't have accessibility to those tools to be able to come up with new innovations. But also we have to recognize that, very like Haas was saying, we have this banking system that we're out to in a lot of these developed countries, where those aren't things that will also hold back areas like Africa when we think of moving to a decentralized, financial market, or having these individuals be able to have access to apps that don't rely on needing constant internet, so things like YouTube Go, Google Search Lite, these are all innovations that we've put forth in Africa to ensure that the idea of having constant internet should not be something that we do not solve for in terms of making sure someone has access to the information around the world. So I think it's really about the investment in the individuals to allow them to come up with the solutions for their community is the main reason why we should invest in Africa, because then we'll be able to see new inventions, new things that can be produced in the country that aren't from a, maybe a Eurocentric or American mindset, because their environment is different, our environment is different. So we need to make sure that we bolster that by investing in the individuals who know what they need the most.
Love that. I think the consistent theme from all of your responses was talent, right? And agency and narratives, right? There is a perception, there's a narrative of Africa that I think a lot of African young talents are flipping that narrative on its head and really stepping into their power and their agency to solve the problems in a way that meets Africa's challenges. And so I want to bring it back to you, Lauren. I think you started hitting at a few points that I think will be helpful in painting the picture for the group. I also don't want to romanticize Africa is perfect and come on down, let's invest. The challenges are there. We know that the government structures and corruption, like these are all real security, right? These are all real barriers for business and for growth. And so I want to come back to you. Look at countries like Sierra Leone that has a chief innovation officer, right? Countries like Uganda that have enacted policies to create favorable environments for investment. In your experience, building a boot camp, 4 boot camps, not even 1 boot camp, 4 boot camps in Africa, leading a university, doing all that you do in Africa as an entrepreneur, how has government or government policies hindered or facilitated your ability to capture and create and capture value?
Thanks. No, it's not in live. Okay, I can go. No, that's recorded, so we can choose where the video goes after.
Yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, get him out.
So
Get him out now.
I really, my experience, 6 years in Africa, 2 years before working for French-speaking area. The development in Africa about tech and about other business comes from private company. All the things I saw was worked at the end by private company. We need politics. We need ministry of etc. etc. They need to be aware, involved at some point of the project, but not lead. That's what I saw. Okay. Example in Senegal, PTN, Parc des Technologies Numériques du Sénégal, 25 hectares dedicated to innovation technology. The project starts led by Ministry of Telecommunication in 20. And this is not ready. Okay, 11 years ago. When I saw GFN University, starting the foundation infrastructure in December 2018. In 2020, first year of operation. And it's big.
So because that was led by private sector as opposed to the public sector.
Exactly.
And is it local investment or is it foreign investment?
No,
Primarily
local. The boss in Senegal or Cameroon, it's local. And we need more from outside. But actually, outside investors are more eager for English-speaking area. Nigeria, Egypt,
Kenya.
Kenya, right.
South Africa.
South Africa. And why? Why? In tech. Okay. It's because it's there we are developers. That there is a correlation just at 100% of that. If you have developers, you have investment. So that's why we need to build talents everywhere in Africa to be nice for investors.
That's a very interesting perspective, right? Your focus is more so on the upskilling as opposed to dependency on the government to create the conditions for the ecosystems to develop, right? I think that's a really interesting perspective. When you look at Europe, for example, the US, you find our innovation and success, a lot of it came from government incentives and policies. Whereas in Africa, that narrative, that dynamic is being shifted. I think that's a really interesting trend to pay attention to.